What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. As you can tell, my voice is still a little bit hoarse, but again, we're bringing it to you. I think I sound better than the last episode, so hopefully you guys are cool with this. But we're gonna start with a topic that's honestly probably lasted too long. Ever since Tyreek made his infamous "I'm out of here, man. Y'all not trying to win." There's just a constant downfall. Like first of all, like Teron Armstead came out, and then Raheem Mostert, and then Tua was quiet actually for a long time, and then recently Tua said basically, "Hey, um, there's work to be done here. You can't just say, hey, my bad, I was emotional, walk back in the locker room, dap us up, and we all cool now. That's not how this works. We're adults. You question people's character, you question people's work ethic, you question people's drive and motivation and hunger, and then you just walk back like, hey, I was just being Tyreek. My bad." It's like, nah, dog, you got work to do. And I think that was more than reasonable to say. I I got what he was saying immediately, but of course we're in the off season, so you know all the sports outlets, ESPN, First Take, Get Out, just random sports fantasy shows, Fox Sports One, everybody talking about it like, oh, it's just trouble in paradise, and Tyreek made Tua. Tua should be grateful, and is Tyreek incompetent, employees, he insubordinate, all the things that go into that. I thought it was a bit overblown because frankly, there wasn't a lot of other stories to talk about. And when the stories get light, then like a little story just becomes like, I thought this actually is a medium sized story because Tyreek has talked about wanting to get back in the good graces of the team the whole offseason. The reason he wasn't named the captain initially is because he hadn't earned the captainship. He talked about it. Hey, I want to get back to being a captain. I haven't been doing my job. He just mentioned 2 weeks ago. I haven't been the full version of Tyreek at any point in my career. I've been kind of given whatever level of effort, and I'm so amazingly talented that it's just kind of worked out for me. But I've never given you full Tyreek, and his off the field, don't get me started. So the idea that, you know, Tyreek says and does wild stuff makes sense to me. And the idea that you can't just keep doing wild stuff and just walk back in like my bad. There has to be some reckoning, some accountability at some point, right? So coach came out to give his take on it, and this was actually a super long quote. I had to cut it down because y'all know coach likes to ramble and just say a bunch of nonsense sometimes, but I think there's truth in here somewhere. I have to read it slowly because he talks kind of wild. He says, I think both parties were both kind of tired and just over the semantics of it. These are people that are working in their relationship. I think the power in that is that both other players are like most relationships. You learn and you grow, and when you invest, you go through whatever, but the relationship becomes more real. So I thought it was a maturation of Tua as a leader of the team, and also I think it speaks to how healthy they are. I think there's some spin in what he said, but also some truth. I think Tua wouldn't have spoken it like this probably 2 years ago, for sure not 3 or 4 years ago. The idea that he has to stand up there and answer the question that honestly means you're subject to cross examination and follow up questions. And you may say something uncomfortable like, hey, Tyreek really pissed me off. And if you say that, then oh my God, the headliner, Tyreek pisses off Tua. We know how that goes. So when you go up there, you say something truthful and something that is going to probably rub your most temperamental player the wrong way. I can't even think of who our second most temperamental, kind of on the edge player would be. We know Tyreek has crash out in him. We could just see it. So to go out there and say that publicly, knowing that it's going to get back to him, people will be saying, you don't got to put up with Tua. They're better quarterbacks who won't talk bad about you. We know how this is going to go. So for Tua to go up there and say what he said means that, in my, non-reporting opinion, he's got the backing of the other guys on the team. I imagine if you interview the other guys on the team who were here last year, who heard what Tyreek said, almost to a man, they would be like, "Hey, that wasn't cool." There's probably a couple that are like two, like that are Tyreek like fans. They're like, "Yeah, you know how Tyreek be, man." But I think if there's let's say 45 guys who came back from this roster, I would think at least 30 are like, "Nah, that wasn't cool." And honestly, I probably talked to Tyreek about it. But because they're lower level players, what are you gonna say? Tyreek's the second highest paid guy on the team. What are you gonna tell me? But when the quarterback comes out and says it, sometimes the quarterback speaks for other people. It could be coach, it could be GM's management, but sometimes, hey, I talked to the guys in the locker room. They're not cool with what you said, but they don't have the cachet to say it, so I'm going to say it. So I think Tua is probably has better standing in the locker room now than he did even before the interview. I don't think it's going to be some division caused all year. I don't think there's gonna be a mutiny between a team and Tua and Tyreek. I think Tua was like, "Yo, Tyreek, man, I love you, dog, but you gotta lock in. You can't just be saying stuff." And I'm on Tua's side in this. I think Tyreek was 100% wrong, obviously, but even coming out and saying it, because I heard people saying that's not good quarterbacking to talk publicly about it. I didn't mind it because the disrespect was public, and because people think of the team as soft, and Tua doesn't really talk to the media that often, like not like this. He talks to the local media. That it was like, hey, we're not spineless. You can't just walk in here and do what you want. I'm here for all of it, and whatever backlash comes, let it come. The Dolphins are in the middle of joint practices with the Bears today and tomorrow. And so the question is, what are we going to focus on for these joint practices? The beauty of these, now some of you are wondering why even do them, is that when you practice against your own guys, you never really, really go full speed because you don't want to hurt anybody. One, you don't want to hurt yourself, but two, you don't want to hurt them. And the Dolphins have been unreasonably stricken by the injury bug this offseason. So, you really can't do what you want to do for real, for real. But also, you going against the same kind of plays over and over and over again in normal practices, so you can kind of get beads on snap counts and you kind of know cadences. You know your guys on your team pretty well. When you go against another team, that's you're almost certainly going to see a bunch of videos of fights. That's what joint practices always lead to fights at some point because these guys have been just practicing and hitting each other all off season, all summer, getting ready for the season, wanting to get that aggression out, but not really able to go full throttle. And now I can against an opponent that I may not even like for real. Maybe we were high school like opponents, and now you're on a different team, and it's gonna be someone getting blocked outside the whistle into a Gatorade container, and it gets kind of crazy. People start scrapping. We've all remembered the D Hop and oh my God, 23 D'Angelo Hall, like scrap and beef way back in the day. Like it's just we know the video, we've seen them. So now that we have this chance to really like unleash, for lack of a better term, what are we going to focus on? I think the number one thing is the toughness factor, and that's really the O and D line. That's what we want to see. Is that can that D line hold up against the Bears? The Bears offensive line is not great, but the Bears offense on paper should be really good, right? They obviously have a big O line. They have a great, good quarterback who could be great. I like Caleb actually, but I think DeAndre Swift's a good running back. I think if they're going to be running essentially Detroit's offense from last year, it's going to be very offensive line, two running back, two tight end heavy, which means if you're not good in the trenches, it's going to get bad. It's going to get bad. But as much as people think Detroit was this high flying team the last few years with Ben Johnson as the OC, their core is offensive line and running the ball. Just go back and watch the games. When Jared Goff is throwing the ball, it's usually play action because usually they've gotten 4 to 5 yards of carry consistently up to that point, and you got to bring somebody down in the box. You're getting good matchups on the outside, easy throwing lanes. Amon-Ra St. Brown was always open. I'm guessing that would be DJ Moore's more or less position now, but they start in the trenches. That's where they beat you. And then if you ever beat Detroit in the trenches, then you can beat Detroit. Chicago, it may take them a year or two to get to where Detroit was, but I think in the trenches, our D line will need to buck up. You got to contain that run. You got to get at the quarterback. Now, Caleb is a lot more mobile than Jared Goff is, so that's the thing. But that interior, that's where I'm focusing. On the flip side, can we run the ball against them? Chicago's defense was strangely pretty good the last couple of years. I know we never talk about it, but I like their defense. I thought it was good, actually. They added Grady Jarrett up front, who's just a body. He's just a big dude. You remember him in Atlanta. He's just a big guy. And so Chicago has been good on defense for the last, I don't know, a few years. Really solid in the secondary. Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners that people don't talk about. I think, can we establish our offensive line against their defensive line? In the trenches, can we move them and can we run the ball? We saw the Tyreek, Devon Achane quote, which we didn't do an episode on because I was traveling, but when he talked about, hey, you guys aren't good in the short yards, what should you do? And he was like, stop running Devon Achane. Again, it became a big story. Oh my God, Tyreek said something. But I don't think he's wrong. Devon Achane is our smallest running back. He's our best running back, 100%. But why is he running the ball on 31? Like, that's why Buffalo runs with Josh Allen and not James Cook. James Cook is awesome. Like, Pro Bowler, 16 touchdowns last year, awesome player. He's small. He's much smaller than Josh Allen, and Tua doesn't do sneaks because we don't want concussion stuff. And Devon Achane is also small. So But it's not just the running back, unless you have that Derrick Henry level Saquon Barkley type, where you can kind of make your own like lanes. But the O line wasn't creating push on short yardage. We weren't winning the line of scrimmage. So third and one, third and two, when those big D tacks come in and they got two hands in the ground and they're exploding off the ball and our O line's getting pushed back in their own skates, how can you get 1 or 2 yards? You're not winning up front. You're being literally manhandled up front. So I want to see how are our boys going to do when Detroit wants to be physical. I keep saying Detroit because Ben Johnson thing. Chicago wants to be physical. So I'm just going to look out to see how well are we doing in the run game. Can we run when we need to run? First and 10, when you got three receivers and you sneak a run in, doesn't show me you can run the ball. Third and two, third and three, fourth and one, fourth and two. That tells me if you can run the ball. When they know you're going to run, we know we're going to run, and they can't stop you. That's what I want to see. And hopefully we see some of that during these practices. Of all the position groups I'm looking at, though, I'm looking at the secondary. Again, I think DJ I think DJ is one of the he's not a top five receiver. I think he's probably somewhere between 6 and 10. I put DJ Moore in the same category as I put like Terry McLaurin. Guys who are number one receivers, but probably not the best. They're not ever in contention for the best receiver in the league, but they're clearly better than number two receivers. They're kind of that purgatory middle ground. I think AJ Brown on up, Justin Jefferson, Chase, CD Lamb, those guys are in their own tier. Then you get to that second tier where it's like they're great, but you're not one of them. DJ Moore, I think, is one of those. Roman Dunze did not get loose last year. I think some of that was just bad coaching, maybe bad scheming. But I loved him at Washington. He was actually my wide receiver too. I thought he was really good. I'm curious to see them against our secondary. I'm assuming Mike Hilton is just penciled in as a slot corner. I don't see any reason to believe that he won't be our slot corner. On the outside, you got Jack Jones, you got Kendall Sherfield, you got Storm Duck, all trying to see. And I guess Cam Smith technically is in there, but until Cam shows me something, Cam ain't showed me nothing. So until he does, he ain't did. He hasn't yet. So I think those three are competing for the two starting jobs. Um, I assume Jack Jones has an inside track because he just got signed and he started last year. But who knows? He may not show up in his scheme. He may not. He's got other things he's working on. Maybe he doesn't know the playbook well enough. Who knows? I'm looking out for those guys against the ones for Chicago. Those guys on the outside. Can you match up with their receivers? Can you match up with Caleb extending the play, throwing on a run, like improvisation? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing because we are decimated in the secondary. We need some people to step up. We had ideas for who would be our starters. Guess what? Different plans. If these guys step up, maybe we can salvage the secondary a little bit. I obviously assume Minka's going to be great, but the other three position groups, I don't know. It's not. I can say I'm not optimistic, but maybe I need to see it. I'll put it that way. I just need to see it. If I see these guys go out and play, if I see Sherfield out here looking like, hey, you know, I want that job, then I definitely want to see that. But it's going to be interesting to see how they match up against them because again, they've been going against speed this whole time. Tyreek and Jalen are like just super fast receivers. They don't play as physical as those two guys do. So I am curious to see how that's going to go down. But I guess we'll see. Finally, comments. I've been off the grid for a little while, so I haven't been able to answer any questions. But I think I've seen a lot going in as to now that we're getting into preseason and matchups. Like, what do I expect to see? What do I expect? The most common one I've gotten actually in the last couple of hours is, who do you expect to play in the preseason? I already told you guys I didn't want to see Tua play. Completely out on Tua plan. But then Joe Burrow played last night, and Joe Burrow played like a man. Like he balled out, and he played a little bit longer than I thought he would. So now that people see Joe Burrow playing, and they saw AR-15 go out and get roughed up immediately, and that was actually his fault. If you watch the play, the ball's supposed to go to the flat. He looked to the wrong side of the field, and he just got blown up. But that's two in the weeds on the playbook. So now we saw Daniel Jones play last night, who looks like right now is most likely going to be the starting quarterback in Week 1 against the Dolphins. So what do I expect the starters to play for the Dolphins? I do not expect it in Game 1, but it looks like more and more around the league, there are starters that are going to be playing. So that means that it's likely we're going to get two on the field at some point. And yeah, I'm not telling you I'm nervous about it. I'm just saying I would prefer not to see it. But given that we've been so decimated with injuries, especially on the offensive line, I would like to see maybe for a series of two, like whoever we project our starting five to be outside of Austin Jackson, he's not going to be there. And yeah, outside of Austin Jackson, I guess James Daniels too. So we're going to have three of our projected starters. Let's do that. Tua, one, maybe two drives max. And I want all the throws to be super short. I don't want this to be let's try to stretch the field. I don't want to see. I want dink and dunk, bubble screen, handoff, pass to the flat, slant, quick out, 10 yards and in. So if the O line for whatever reason doesn't hold up, for whatever reason, cool. He's Tua's gonna be fine. My number one thing is Tua being healthy. I think Tua being healthy changes everything. The defense can be bad and we can score enough points to still override it. If Tua's healthy, Tyreek's happy, Waddle's happy, we happy. We know how it goes. If Tyreek is doing his job, he's doing flips and Waddle's waddling and Tua's, dancing and we're doing line dances in the end zone again, everything's good, right? But he has to be upright. Tua has shown me, I'm a believer that if Tua is healthy, we are a playoff team. Full stop. Doesn't matter. Oh, what about the Raiders? They're coming up, and Cam Moore could be good, and Pittsburgh is always. I don't care. I think if Tua's healthy, we're going to score 24 to 27 points a game, and our defense won't be 24 to 27 points bad per game. Like even if our defense is middle of the pack, you're talking 18 to 22 points a game they're giving up. I think we're going to score more than that to win at least 10, maybe 11 games. I just think that's the way it shapes up. I don't, that's where I'm at. So if Tua's healthy for 17 games, I think we will win at least 10. That's it. I need him to be on the field. But I also need the team to execute a little bit better. Even if Tua plays, I wouldn't even mind him handing the ball off most of the time. Just to establish a run with him on the field because if you bring in a backup quarterback, I'm assuming we're going to be running the ball a lot anyway. If Tua's on the field, people are expecting to pass. So I would like to see maybe the team establish what the running game will look like and then try to work on some play action. We actually don't do a lot of play action because of how our offensive system is set up. We do a lot of misdirection runs and stuff. So I would like to see it actually, but we'll see, man. It should be fun. Let's just keep everybody healthy. That's my point. But as always, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. I'll see you guys next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.